Welcome to the NRT Now podcast, giving you the latest in Christian music news, topics, and artist interviews directly from the largest Christian music site online, newreleasetoday.com. Now, here's your host, Jake.
Hey, y'all. We hope that you're observing all proper Zoom etiquettes. We've all seen the videos, and we really hope that you haven't been the subject of one of them. Just remember that your camera's on all the time that you're connected to the meeting, and I think you'll be all right. But no, we hope that you guys are all safe and healthy and at least partially sane. I know for me, my kid thinks that I didn't have much to start with, so there's not much to lose. But we're still going through a very, very tough time as a world and as a country, and everybody's home. My kid's been homeschooled for a while, but there's a lot of kids that weren't homeschooled to start with that are now being homeschooled, and everybody's together all the time. And one thing that I really had to remind my kid of today was that she's not alone in this. As someone who's really up and going and used to having activities and seeing friends and all that, she's taking this pretty hard. She's starting to get anxious and stuff. And you know what happens when kids get kind of antsy and restless and stuff. And right now, I think for her, it seems like it's very disproportionately her, and she's the one that feels like we always have to get on her because she is getting antsy and restless and, what kids do. But I reminded her today that we're all in this together. Her mom feels the same way. I feel the same way. And it's just tough. If you need to hear this, I just really want to tell you that you're not alone in this. There's a lot of people that everybody's doing this all together here. And one of the things that's been really tough for me to really get my head around and to really let wash over me is that God's all powerful and the victory's already his, and he's stronger than the virus. So just be still and know that he's God and that we'll get through this. I've been reading so much about what's going on, just from what's actually going on with the virus and the studies to kind of the politics of it all and just everything in between. And I've spent so much more time on that personally and getting wrapped up in that than I have just really letting the calm and the peace and just that hope that comes from God, that peace that comes from God, just really haven't let that wash over me. And that's something that I really hope to fix over the next little bit. And one of the things that I really need to get back to is more hobbies as well. I've restrung one or two of my guitars. I need to get the rest of them restrung and really lean into just worship and hopefully songwriting. Hopefully I can pick up a couple more hobbies around that in this time. Just really use this pause, as Seth and Nerva put it a few episodes back, just to good use. And we really want to hear what your guys' hobbies and what's coming out of this for you guys. If you just need some encouraging words, just let us know or reach out to a small group or your church. Don't be afraid to just say that you're not doing okay with this, because that's the only way that we are going to get through this, is to be okay with not being okay with it and to work through it and just let that peace from God wash over us. Which kind of leads in, our guest for this episode is Caleb Crino, and we caught up with him way back at the We Love Awards show, and that's only a couple of months ago, and it seems like it's a whole lifetime ago. But yeah, we caught up with him there. He was one of our Next Big Thing nominees, as well as one of our live performers. And in this conversation, we talked about the verse where it says, "Be still and know that I'm God," which, if you remember from a few episodes ago, was a huge topic of conversation with Chris Cleveland with Stars Go Dim. And it's just funny how that theme kind of came through that. For me personally, I was really busy at that time. So to have that conversation through a really busy period had impact. But now that we're kind of in the middle of what's going on here, listening back to this, it had another type of impact. And as I'm talking about this here, I'm just really thinking about how different verses in the Bible have different impacts on us at different points in our lives. The same verse, the same intent, the same everything, but it has a majorly different impact on us. And I know I needed to hear that today about just being still and knowing that he's God and just let that wash over us. So I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation with Caleb, and let's head over there now. So we are continuing the Together We Love Awards live performance. I think I've only gotten that right twice. We're in this podcast episode series here, and I've got Caleb Crino with us. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure, Jake.
One of our nominees for the next big thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And hopefully I'll see you next year for the big thing.
Absolutely. Right. Before we get kind of down to that, you've got another big performance. You're performing live tonight.
Yes.
But you've got another big performance coming up in about a month or so.
What's coming up in a month or so?
Well, I hope you know. Your best man duties, best man speech.
Yeah. Yes. The ultimate performance, you might say.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm good friends with a Christian artist named Hannah Kerr and her fiance, Jason Early. Jason and I are best friends. We met, we went to college together at Belmont. And we were both songwriting majors. I think it was 2014. We met at our commercial songwriting class. We just became good friends, and we've written together a lot. He wrote one of the songs on my on the EP that I released a few months ago. So, and asked me to be his best man at the wedding.
The reason I say that is because Hannah's episode was our Valentine's Day episode.
Oh,
here on the
right,
podcast here.
Right,
so
right.
And we actually, let's throw a little bit of shade at Jason. He said, yeah, your buddy, or my buddy Caleb is nominated for one of your awards. Let me give him your number so you can get on the podcast and all that kind of stuff.
Oh.
And well, that didn't happen. And still somehow here we are.
Here we are, man. I love that guy. He's been such a good friend to me over the last few years. We've been very close, and it's kind of rare to have a friendship, I believe, where it's like, you're truly like brothers in Christ. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can help each other through things, and he's helped me through stuff. I've helped him through things. And yeah, it's been a great friendship.
As guys, that's something that's rare to really find.
I agree. Yeah.
Even as someone that's a few years older, I'm not going to go that route.
No. What? You look so young.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Whenever anybody says that, that's your cue. What? You look so young.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Learn early. That's good lesson.
Exactly.
But a little further down the road, that's still something that's super tough as guys, because being vulnerable and just like, hey, this sucks, I can't do this. It's just not an option today. In at least our culture, you have to have it together. You got to be the rock. You got to be this. That's not an option for us. And so those kind of friendships where that really cultivates through is really kind of rare.
Yeah. And I think it's specifically because we write together a good bit. There's an interesting element in songwriting for anybody listening to this who doesn't songwrite. What you're doing is you're getting together in a room and you're talking about super deep personal stuff and then saying, how can we make a song out of this, right? It's very interesting because sometimes they're people that you've never met that you were connected to by a mutual friend or what have you, and they're like, what's deep and personal in your life that we could talk about? So it's very interesting. It's a very different experience. Having to have the presence of mind to be like, yes, I can be honest about my experience versus letting it go to a too emotionally intimate place. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting line. But with Jason, we're so close. There's definitely a big level of openness.
Yeah, you can get down to that next level. Right. When you initially meet somebody, there's a difference between telling your story and you can have that first level of your story where here's the awesome stuff or here's the tough and here's how God went through.
Yeah.
But that further that friendship goes down, the more and more the story gets a little bit deeper.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
So speaking of that, let's get the first level of story of Caleb Crino.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you went to Belmont, and so what kind of really started you down this path of going down the music as a career situation?
Yeah. Going to Belmont University in Nashville and going through their songwriting program was just kind of the culmination of a lifetime of music. That's why I like to joke. My story started because I was too annoying. Basically, my mom signed me up for a children's choir when I was 6 years old. I spent part of my childhood in a small town called Marshfield, in Missouri, about 30 to 40 minutes outside of Springfield. And I was just running around the house, singing my lungs out and all that. And my mom's like, okay, we need to do something to get this kid out of the house and get an outlet for it. And she's like, all right, we'll sign him up for a children's choir. And I didn't want to do it at first, but the very first rehearsal, I'm like, I loved it. And I was like, I love singing. I love this. And I'm never going to stop. Through the years, I kept on singing and started learning instruments as well. I play several instruments, and I just love understanding music as a whole. Yeah. My father's a pastor, an Assemblies of God pastor, and so I grew up in the church, and I grew up kind of learning about what worship truly is and how to lead worship, and lead a congregation in that while still keeping it true to yourself. I truly believe that music that glorifies God is the highest calling and the highest purpose of music. That's my own personal belief, and that's why I love what I do, is that I get to express myself and make something that encapsulates me and my personality in a musical way, but it points to Jesus.
So basically, you had no other path but to come in music.
I tell you, if I'm not doing music, I don't know what the heck I'd do. I really felt the call of God on my life when I was around age 13. I was really, this is interesting. I've been doing this for a long time, and I wonder if this is something that could be a career for me. And I've really felt God have felt God affirm that just many times over the years since then. And here we are, sitting in this very room.
Presenting at
the We Love Awards. Yeah.
Yes, live performing.
That's right.
There's a distinction somewhere. I'm
it is
not
somewhere
sure
around
where.
there. That's right. Yeah.
I think there's presenter. There's whichever.
Yeah.
With that time at Belmont, well, you're young enough that you went through the traditional route.
So I was actually homeschooled right up until college. A lot of where I'm at musically is because of that. What's really cool about homeschooling is that if you're taking private voice lessons, guitar lessons, and or piano lessons, which I was doing all three of those at the same time, and practicing an hour a day for each of those things, that all counts as classes, like actual schoolwork when you're homeschooling. They're kind of like your little extracurricular or like electives, right, in the homeschooling system. So I was practicing like so much when I was in high school and right up until college. And then, like I said, my dad's in the Assemblies of God as a pastor. And so I went to an Assemblies of God school called Southeastern University my first year of college. Then I really found out about Belmont and fell in love with the school. And so I was trying to decide what I would major in. And I just really felt like, man, I want to write songs that glorify God to the highest level, right? That's one thing that I'm really passionate about is worshiping God to the highest quality that I possibly can. And of course, it's never going to be perfect, right? I really think the song is what makes a song, which is weird. When by song I mean just a lyric and a melody can make a message come across in a way that few things can.
Yeah, music is a communication tool that crosses a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
You kind of hear the cliche, like, music is a religion, or under all of that, there's just that truth that music can communicate something when words can't, or it just kind of opens a door, whether it's an emotional door or just someone that you'd never talk to, but somehow stumble across a song or something like that. There is something about music.
There is. Yeah. There are very few times if any, in my life where I've just written down words and cried while I was doing it. I do that when I write some songs. There are songs, I actually just wrote one last week, I think it was, and I'm literally crying as I'm writing these words. And it's just, again, like I said before, lyric and melody, a lyric brings something to the mind, I think, and melody brings something to the soul. That's kind of the way that I think of it. One goes to the logical, analytical part of your brain, and the other, there's just something about it. It just sinks down in you. Even the same words that are more than spoken, that are sung with melody, have a way of just sinking down so deep in a way that mere words never could.
And I think sometimes it's just because you can't get that stupid song out of your head.
The catchiness. Oh man,
exactly.
If someone gets mad at me because, man, I just can't get your song out of my head, that is a win for me.
That's not a. That
is not a bad thing.
That's not an insult.
That is not a bad thing.
Get mad at me for that all day.
That's right.
I've done that so many times where I'll just be sitting there and just, whether it was a song from Spotify or worship that weekend or whatever, and it starts bouncing around the empty cavern up here.
Yeah.
I think that's something that happens as well. And and if music and songs weren't important, then there wouldn't be a huge chunk of the Bible just dedicated to songs.
Yeah. It's very interesting. There's a verse in the Bible that says, understanding of the word of God comes through hearing, right? And when we hear something, we sing it over and over again. And that's what the Psalm says, meditating on your words day and night. That's a form of meditation when we sing something again and again and again. And that's really just focusing on them. And even if we don't necessarily realize we're doing it, that's just a form of meditation and dwelling on the promises of God and the hope that he brings us and the message of his glory and his mercy and grace.
A lot of learning is tied to music and songs. I mean, the one that hopefully all of us can relate to is the alphabet song.
Right.
One of the very first ones that we all learned was the alphabet. So, your mom can finally get you to read. Like,
Right.
come on, kid.
Yep, that's right. That's how I learned the fruit of the spirit in Sunday school. What had it go? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and self-control. I learned that in middle school, and like I don't remember all of it, but like I can still grasp on the parts of it. And so whenever I think, oh, what's the fruit of the spirit? I'm like, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness.
Or, Father Abraham.
Had many sons.
Oh, my God.
I'll tell you, that guy had many sons.
Yes.
I know this.
So are we going to turn this into a Sunday school sing-along, or
sons.
should we start moving on before this gets out
That's
of
my
hand?
Sunday morning voice. Come on now. Woo.
Oh, man. The good old Sunday school songs.
Oh, gosh. Man. What I do as a part-time job is I teach private music lessons as well. And so I get to kind of experience firsthand, if I come like a week later and I've given them something to practice there, and they're like, oh, I love this song. I've been playing it over and over and over and over. Like, let me play it for you. Like that excitement. Oh, I love it.
With that, you've been able to start mentoring another generation.
Yeah.
What's kind of your favorite part about that, from that musician, but also kind of worship? What's kind of your biggest wins when you're tutoring these kids?
Well, yeah. Well, whether I'm like teaching an actual private lesson, or if I'm mentoring maybe someone who's younger in worship, something like that. I'm certainly not old by any means. I'm 24 years old. So I lead worship at a church in Nashville called Brentwood Baptist Church, and we work with some of the youth worship teams sometimes, and that's where I was. That's where I really got my start as far as worship goes, in a youth worship team. My favorite thing is it's very hard to explain, but it's when you see the moment that the light bulb comes on. Yeah. Right? When you're trying to explain a comment, and maybe they're not really getting it. Maybe they're like, well, what if we did, I don't really understand. Could you explain it a different way? And you say something, they're like, oh, right? When the light bulb comes on and they make a connection that they've never made before, that they wouldn't have made if you hadn't been like sowing into them and giving them like the benefit of your experience. I love that. That is absolutely the best feeling. And it's really cool too, especially because some of the students that I teach are specifically, they want to learn the ways of worship. And I teach them, and just being able to look back a year ago and saying, gosh, how far they've come.
I worked with high school at church back when I was in Wyoming and stuff. And,
oh, cool.
But once you start getting down to that middle school range, it starts getting to be like, like there's a special place in heaven. Exactly.
Woo, for middle school teachers, man.
Yeah. There's like an extra special place of heaven. For them. But as you're training and tutoring, these kids in worship, in particular, how do you kind of work with that younger generation into really understanding God and that worship when their set of experiences is a lot more limited?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
A lot of times, let me
sure.
put it that way.
Well, it depends on if you're talking about specifically worship leaders, right? There's what I really push when I teach is an emphasis on technique, right? So for me, especially me as a singer and an instrumentalist, I want to be so comfortable with either my instrument or my voice, which is also an instrument, of course. I want to be so comfortable with those that when it comes time to worship, I don't have to think about them. So that's when I'm, all right, let's just settle into what is this song saying, right? What is this song saying? And yes, I know what chords to play. I've got that all down. I don't need to worry about that. That muscle memory and that comfort level with the instrument and with my voice, I'm going to sing the notes, I'm going to play the chords, and make sure that I'm meaning what I'm saying. It feels sometimes like that can be the part that's most missed in modern worship. It can be. We can have the big show, the big production. We can play the right notes and have incredible voices sing. And I've even felt it in me every once in a while if I'm having a rough week or something, where sometimes the worship for me personally is missed because I'm so focused on just making sure that I'm playing the right chords or whatever. So I really try to teach people not to miss that, because that's the part that really makes it worship, right? The lights and the production or whatever your church's sound system is, that doesn't make it worship. It's coming into the presence of God with thanksgiving and with joy and presenting yourself to him and saying, God, I worship you for who you are. That's a long story, long explanation, but.
I mean, that's great, because as a youth, I think that's part of the toughest part.
Yeah.
As adults, farther on down the line, you go through your stuff. Not saying that all kids don't go, because you really honestly hope that kids don't, but just getting that mindset and just making that the habit instead of perfection and all that. As they walk through those times, just being able to just come back to that presence but not worrying about all the rest of that. I mean, whether they continue in music or whether they continue playing or still leading worship band, whatever it is, that's something that carries through.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm 100% confident that I'm going to worship different when I'm 45 than I do now at 24 years old. I don't have the life experience now that I'm going to have, and I worship now different at 24 than I did when I was 14. You know, because there's more meaning to it. Because again, I've had different experiences than that 14-year-old kid. That was awkward as all get out, right? But yeah, I think well, that's right. But God meets us where we're at. God meets us where we're at with our experiences, and that's just, I think, the thing that's the common denominator between all of these is just silence and being in the presence of God.
We're actually talking a little bit about that with Stars Go Dim with Chris with Stars Go Dim about the verse "Be Still." You know, it's kind of funny that came up. It'll still be, who knows what order it'll be in. But
Sure.
Chronologically, here it was 2 interviews ago.
Yeah.
But you know, that talking about "Be Still," you know, there's a comma, there's a period, there's a, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and then know that I'm God. And I mean, that's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
We didn't plan this at all.
No, we didn't plan this, right? But I love that there are two parts of it. It's not enough to just be still, and it's not just enough to know that He's God. We need to be still and simultaneously, or at the same time, know that He is God. Rest in the fact and be silent in the fact that He is above all. He is in us as His children, right? That's really cool. It's really cool, man.
It's funny how God works in some of those things, you know.
Almost like somebody planned it.
Exactly.
Oh.
It wasn't us.
Yeah, it's so fun. And I have to remind myself that a lot of time because I've talked to a lot of people before, and I've just shared that I'm such a type A personality. I've got to go. And I think especially in like Western culture or American culture specifically, there's such a push to always be productive, always be active, always be doing something. And if you're not doing something, on your phone, right? You know, do whatever. And there's that technology push, and there's such a lack of silence. I've really seen, not just recently, but for a while now, I've been really making a priority to spend some early morning time with Jesus. And it doesn't have to be, you know, it's different for everybody. Not everybody does early morning. They might do like late at night right before they go to bed. But for me, I like to set the tone of my day with a little time of worship. So just me and a guitar, just singing my favorite worship songs. And then especially there's an inhibition that falls off. And by that, I mean, I don't have to worry about hitting the right notes and being in front of people and playing the right chords. I can just sing and sit. So I worship for a little bit. I read the Bible for a little bit. I pray for a little while. And the rewards from that alone time with God are priceless.
I know for one, you have your live performance tonight. You know, I'm super excited for it. Like I said, I listened to some of the stuff. Well, at least I'm not the only one.
Well,
yeah. Oh, thank goodness we got that out of the way.
Thank God. Woo. No, I'm a little nervous, and by a little nervous, I mean I'm decently nervous, but I'm excited as well, and I'm really excited to share an original and then some fun stuff as well.
So that little extra tick when you're nervous when you're playing guitar, I mean, that's just a built-in delay pedal. That's all that is.
That's right. We'll call that the delay pedal. Yeah.
We got to redirect that somehow.
That's right. A nervous energy put into hitting the high notes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh gosh, edit that out of the podcast.
That's staying. That's the lead in.
Oh gosh. Oh boy, I really need to stop while I'm ahead.
Well, we're excited for it, and just like we've said throughout the rest of it, it'll be on YouTube.
Awesome.
If you got a chance to watch it live,
yes,
awesome.
Yes,
watch it again.
Or
if not,
get there, watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we're excited, and we'll see you up there.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake.
All right. Thanks for hanging out.
Yes, sir.